Great. Well, we'll get started and other people might join. If some of you heard me, my name is Shannon. I work for the JET Foundation. You'll see a couple of folks on the call that work for the JET Foundation. This call is all about independent living. So Megan and I are just going to ask a couple questions. Megan is in the corner of my screen. She's waving right now. We work on Can't Promise, but as you know, JET Foundation has many programs, and so we're happy to kind of facilitate this discussion with some amazing people. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Chris Napper because he's at the top of my screen. Chris, if you just want to give us your, well, we already know your name, but age and kind of where you live right now.
Yeah, sure. I'm Chris. I am 34, and I live just outside of Seattle, Washington, in a town called Linwood.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the Chipettas, we got 3 in a row. I'll let you guys each go.
I'm Troy. I'm 25 years old, and we live in Bridgewater, Massachusetts.
Yes.
I'm Andrew, 25 also, and live in Bridgewater, Mass.
I'm Mark. I'm 22 and I live in Bridgewater.
I love it all together. I love those accents. Thank you guys for being here. And then we have Mariana, who's also going to speak with us today.
Hi, I'm Mariana. I'm a mom. I have a son with Duchenne, and I'm also an occupational therapist and happen to specialize in assistive technology. So I wanted to share some of my experiences from personal and a professional side. So looking forward to today's discussion because I'm very passionate about assistive technology, and the smart devices are fantastic these days.
That's good to hear, especially with the holidays coming around. It can never be too late to pick up some new equipment or new devices.
Yes.
Great. Well, we're so excited to have all of you here. This is pretty informal. If you have questions, please feel free to use the chat. We will leave some time at the end if you think of something and didn't get a chance to ask during it. But please feel free. We want you to ask questions of these guys and gals, and for everyone to kind of get the most out of this experience. And so my first question is probably a pretty obvious one, but I'd love to hear a little bit about your experiences living alone. Chipettas, I'm saying Chipettas because it's on the screen, but I'd love for maybe you guys to go first. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Our experience has been fun so far, besides the bump in the road with COVID. But other than that, we've been enjoying living on our own. We got a puppy a couple of months ago, so that was fun. And just being in an apartment environment and meeting new people is pretty cool.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about your day-to-day. So the 3 of you live together. Kind of walk us through what a day looks like for you guys.
So we each of us have our PCAs that come in the morning, get us up. We do our care in the morning, our routines that we usually do. They help us with breakfast, help us clean up the apartment, and we just hang out most of the time with them.
Did you guys know each other before living together?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We've been friends for probably, we've known our friend Mark since he was 15 years old.
Okay. And then Mark, how's it living with 2 brothers?
It's fun.
They don't gang up on you or anything like that? Oh, I guess I don't want to give them my ideas. Sorry, guys. I don't want to give them.
We do sometimes.
That's awesome. That's great. And do you use the same caregivers, or do you each have your own?
Our morning PCAs are different people, but
Okay.
the overnight hours, we use the same PCA. There's no sense of having 2 different people here just tripping on each other. So we just have one PCA for all of us at night.
That's awesome. That's a great way to kind of pool resources, right? And kind of, especially with COVID, I can imagine that could get kind of tricky. Awesome. And what's your puppy's name?
Bella.
Bella. Aw, that's so nice.
Somewhere back there sleeping.
Yeah, I don't blame her.
She's on the
That's how I'm glad.
mini Bernedoodle.
Aw.
Cool.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Napper, could you walk us through kind of your living situation currently?
Yeah, sure. So let's see, I'm 34. I moved out when I was 21, I think. So I've been on my own for quite a while now. And I stay on my own, but I do live with roommates. I just don't live with my family anymore. So yeah, right now I have 2 roommates. One of them is one of my caregivers. So we live together. And then I have some other PCAs that come and go just during their shifts. But yeah, I love it. My family lives like about an hour away. So, if some breakdown in my care does occur, like they're there if I need them and kind of fill in. But yeah, it's worked out pretty well for me.
That's great. So cool. And then at night, do you have, I'm sorry, did you say that you have someone that comes in, or that you have the roommate that kind of helps out on that piece?
So my roommate works the night shift 5 days a week.
Oh, okay.
And then on the weekends, I have a different person that comes and stays here at night. Yeah.
Cool. And then for all of you guys, kind of how did you find your caregivers? I know you mentioned that, was it difficult? Like, how are you kind of managing that with COVID right now? And if they do have to, take time off for quarantine or things like that?
At the beginning, it was hard finding the right PCAs, but we all ended up finding them. And where we live, we use a website called Mass. It's like a Massachusetts PCA thing. You go on it and then you just look for people. And then we use care.com. There's a lot of reason on there. But like when we have enough that they cover if one of them gets sick or can't show up to work 1 week. So it's challenging sometimes, but we figure it out for the most part.
That's great. And then Napper, do you have similar resources? Do you use care.com? Do you?
Yeah, I've used care.com before. So I remember you have to pay to like post on there, advertise, whatever. I've used more a website we have, which might just be a Washington thing. I'm not sure. It's called Carina Care. It's kind of like what they were describing, where you can post as a provider or as a client, and then you try to just kind of find matches. So I've used that before. My roommate was my caregiver. I actually just moved to this area. I put up a post just on my Facebook, looking for a new caregiver in this area, and turned out one of my childhood friends lived here, like within a mile of where I was, and so he needed a job, and it just kind of panned out that way. It worked out. I ended up actually moving in with him a few months later when my roommates at that time kind of broke up and fell apart. So now I live in his house, and yeah, it really just fell together.
That's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
Craigslist, Chris?
I'm sorry, say again?
Would you recommend Craigslist, Chris?
Hit and miss.
Is that a heckler among us, Chris Napper? I can
Oh,
get
he's always working.
What are some of the challenges that you think you've experienced? And I also want to hear about the good stuff, but what are some of the kind of issues that have occurred, COVID or not COVID, that you've experienced?
Like the only really challenges we've been facing is like because of COVID, a lot of the PCs get sick. And some of our PCs are nurses, some are CNAs, so they work in other facilities.
Right.
Might come down with the virus, but sometimes it's hard to find coverage for a PCA to come and stay with us. So sometimes my dad has to come and stay. But that's just for emergency. That's the only really downfall.
Got it.
And then getting used to the apartment living, like our parents not being here, helping us with everything, cooking dinner. We have to do all that stuff now, clean.
Yeah.
Responsibilities now with bills and everything.
How's the cooking going? You guys have a favorite? Who's the best cook among the three of you, do you think?
I think I am.
You think you are? Okay. We're going to put that to the test one of these days. That sounds good. Cool. How did you guys find your living situation? How did you find an apartment that worked for you?
We just went around apartment shopping with my dad, and we looked,
Yeah,
and we found a place that was already handicap accessible and already made for a wheelchair.
that's awesome.
But we are on the third floor. That's the only downfall.
Okay.
There is a fire alarm. We're not supposed to go down the elevator, but we do it anyway.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But the apartment that we're in right now, the stove's made for us, the sink, everything's showered. All that.
That's awesome. That's great that you found one that was like kind of already move-in ready and you didn't have to do.
It took 6 months to move in, but
It took 6 months to move in.
they put you on a waiting list.
Oh, okay. How about you, Chris? Kind of what are the challenges then? I know you said yours kind of fell together, living situation, but what are some of the challenges that you faced?
It's definitely hard to find like accessible housing, being that there isn't really a good resource to like search it. You know, most people when they need an apartment, they can go on to apartments.com and just see what's available. But when you're looking for an accessible apartment, like even if it says it's accessible, you don't necessarily know what that means. Like that could just mean that like they have an elevator or they don't have stairs. It doesn't necessarily mean like you can get into the bathroom. It doesn't necessarily mean that like you can get under the sinks or you can fit through the bedroom doorways or, you know, it's very arbitrary what they consider accessible.
Right.
So you can like call ahead and ask questions and see if they can really get measurements and things like that. But really, in the end, you kind of have to show up in person to see it yourself and make sure everything's going to work for you. So it definitely makes the like searching process a little more involved. But you know, it can be done. Like, and you know, some modifications may have to be made, and you know, you kind of make whatever you can work. And my house that I'm in right now isn't really like an accessible house, but I rigged up a couple like portable ramps to get in the front door, and we just make it work.
Have you made other modifications, like the sink or the refrigerator or other things just to kind of make it easier for you to do stuff?
Luckily, I don't really need to get in and out of my bathroom. I do everything pretty much in my room.
Okay.
My doorway is really tight, but I fit. I can, as long as I'm careful, I can get in. But yeah, it's pretty much good. Everything works just fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, now it comes to the assistive technology part, and we want to get Mariana in on this. But can you guys walk me through any devices that you do use? Do you use any of the smart plugs or other things that are kind of readily available on the market?
Yes, in our apartment, we use the Google Home,
Oh, okay.
connected to our lights,
That's
and
awesome.
TV and all that. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you can just speak and it will turn on lights or turn off lights for certain rooms?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I use my Alexa to operate my lights, my TV. Yeah.
That's really cool. Mariana, what are some other kind of useful devices that you've seen, particularly for the home?
Yeah, let me do a copy and paste.
Yeah, thank
Or
you.
send to the chat.
Yeah.
Because I have a list. Let's see if it all, okay. It's a long list.
That's great.
So yeah, there's a lot of devices out there. I mean, I think the challenge is partially, which is wonderful, it used to be for like environmental control, as they call home modifications. You know, it used to be these kind of complicated systems that were really tricky to set up and get working. Nowadays, with all the smart technologies, there's just so many options out there. And what I really love about it is that you can you know, it used to be the environmental control systems were like $20,000 to try to do something like that. That's just me guessing on a number. But nowadays you can go and buy like an Alexa for $100 if you want to use that. And then you could add the Hue lights, which I really like. They're talking about the lights. So we've done Hue lights and Alexa. And so they've tied together. And then, so for about $200, which still sounds pretty expensive, you know, you at least can have where you've got voice control of the lights, or like my son will sometimes use the phone too, you know, to control his lights rather than if you didn't want to do the voice activation. So that's, you know, some of the great things about the different technologies. Now, some of the ones, and interrupt me because I can ramble on my list, we kind of did a project where I used to work at Assistive Technology of Alaska, or ATLA is the acronym. And we had a project with a client where we had gotten some funding from one of the disability organizations to, you know, redo his apartment as a smart home. Right. And part of the purpose was the disability organization was trying to figure out ways that technology could reduce the amount of caregiver hours that were necessary. So the list I've got here are kind of some of the things that we had done for the project. And I just wanted to outline a couple of them that my client really liked. One was that automatic pet feeder, which is by PetNet, because he had a dog that he wanted to be able to feed as much as, you know, feed independently. And the app is great because you can just click on the app and feed your pet at a certain time. But when we first started out with that, it wasn't compatible with Alexa. And I remember him calling me one day, "Is it compatible with Alexa?" So he was really excited that he could use Alexa to feed his dog with the PetNet. So that was one that we really liked. The other one that is a lot more expensive, but it is an option out there. I have on here the automatic body dryer. It's Tornado Body Dryer. And what it is, it's this dryer that you can set up in the shower. And then you don't need a towel or anything like that, because the gentleman I worked with, he had 2 caregivers that would help him in the morning. And a lot of it was just the process of helping him dry off after a shower. And so he really found that this body dryer was a fantastic device to assist with that. And I was today on just looking up some stuff today for our meeting. And I saw that there are other body dryers actually out there for a lot less, but from what I saw, of the ones I saw on Amazon, it was ones you'd have to stand on it, is what they showed in the pictures. And they were probably more about $300, but I was wondering if I haven't used one before, if there's a way it could be kind of adapted. So you're not paying about $2,000 is what you'd end up paying for the Tornado Body Dryer. So, you know, that's the hard part. Some of the technology can get quite expensive, and then they're not necessarily, you know, a body dryer isn't necessarily something that insurance would cover.
Right.
So that's kind of the hard part with a lot of these technologies. They're so very helpful, but unfortunately with insurance, I mean, they a lot of times won't cover a shower chair, you know, so they're not necessarily going to cover some of these devices. Now, a really cool thing I saw today, because the project I did with the gentleman was quite a few years ago, and I was looking at some of the automatic faucets, and then I thought, okay, I wonder what's out there for the showers these days. So I was looking up like automatic shower head, and a lot of them were where it was like a digital interface on the shower where you could set things. But then I found the smart shower by Moen.
Yeah.
I have no idea how well it works, but it's a Alexa enabled shower. So you can tell it, you could say, turn on the shower, set the temperature to this, which I thought was a fantastic idea that was out there. So that's something that I hadn't been aware of previously.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And there's a couple, I mean, if anybody else has questions on the things I put up on here on this little list.
Mariana, would you mind pasting it one more time? I wonder if it didn't go to everyone.
Oh, okay. Let me try that again.
Maybe I'll see it in the chat if you don't mind.
Because it's like 21 items that I put on here.
No, that'd be great if you could just pop it in maybe one more time.
Let's see if it'll.
While you're
Oh, you know what I did? Sorry, I don't think I even. No, that should have gone.
If it says blue to everyone.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you.
See, I tell you I know about technology and then I didn't hit enter.
That's okay. No worries. This is an amazing list. That's terrific. We did have a question come in from DJ.
Okay.
And he asked, does anyone have knowledge of the Logitech Harmony Hub or other similar hubs for controlling various smart home devices?
Yeah, that one I've heard about. I haven't used it with anybody.
Yeah, the Harmony Hub is mainly an IR blaster. So it has a bunch of cables for infrared that you can move to different locations. And then you can program different scenarios by either push button or through one of the smart devices to then trigger those things. The setup is a little bit of a pain. So depending on what you want to do, like a Fire TV is probably easier. But if you have other things controlled by IR, which is kind of the dated Wi-Fi version, that'd work pretty well for that.
Thanks, Chris. Chris is another one of our intelligent, super cool.
Tech advanced.
Tech advanced.
So tech advanced. I actually do have like a tech, maybe this is a little bit more like tech specific, but is it pretty important to like kind of choose, I guess, like one home's device? So like you probably shouldn't have like one Alexa, one Google Home, one other device, one whatever. You should probably pick one. That's probably.
I don't think so. I think you can use multiples.
Yeah. I would say you could go either way. I mean, when we tried to do the project, we were trying to consolidate things, this would have been 3 or 4 years ago, into one, we're trying to get it down to one system. And so at the time we kind of focused on, because it was really all about Apple in our minds. So we kind of focused on anything that would work with the iPhone or iPads, and Siri was our focus. But then as that project went on, of course, Alexa ended up being the thing that was better, from our client's perspective, for his needs. He found out he was loving the Alexa more in what Alexa could do, and was, the skills that they were adding to her. And I know a lot of people have the Google Home, and I haven't talked as much, we didn't do as much with Google Assistant and stuff, but I know there's a lot on that side too. So really, I mean, at this point, you can pretty much mix and match to whatever your needs are. It just can be, the hard part is it can be a little bit overwhelming, just because there's so, to try to sort through all these options. But I would say most of you guys with Duchenne, you're already pretty darn techie. I mean, can pretty much tell me what to do. So that's what I found with you guys for the most part. So, it's easy. I think it's a nice collaboration. If you do have like a OT or somebody that's experienced with assistive tech that could help you between the two, you could probably, and knowing what kind of financials you have, like how much can you afford? I think there's ways to, figure it out.
So a lot of the out-of-the-box kind of home automation tools work with either really well. If you start going down the path of specific home automation sensors, then you want to stick with one specific technology type.
Yeah.
We had another question from Allison. Are there any other companies that consult on adaptive tech for home? Mariana, or anyone else, do you know of any other companies that consult specifically on this?
Again, it's kind of, It depends on a couple of factors. Not necessarily, I would say specifically. I mean, that would be one of my things with assistive tech. It's a bit piecemeal. Like, do you have an OT that not all OTs necessarily, their thing isn't necessarily assistive tech. So, but the one resource I could say, you know, just depending on what state you're in, is the Assistive Technology Act program. Is a really good resource. Like, they at least have things you might be able to try to see if that would work at your home, or they might have some input to give you some ideas. And and that's who I work for in Alaska. And I found it really helpful when it was me with the knowledge of tech and the therapist and the client kind of all coming together to help problem solve and figure out, you know, maybe what was the best solution.
Got it.
And I see Chris said Amazon. Yeah, that makes sense. I was wondering, now Chris, are you in, because you're in Washington, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so you're right with the Amazon headquarters. I figured Amazon's doing some of this. I just wasn't, you know, yeah. Makes sense that they would do that.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of like tech, like we call it IT maker, Facebook groups and stuff. You can always post questions and stuff in. But they usually have lots of smart people in there with creative ideas.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, I'm trying to, I'm trying to do a little bit in this direction because I have a Facebook page called Duchenne Assistive Technology Resource. So that's kind of been one of my ideas that I'm trying to figure out, like, how could I expand on this to, you know, use some of my knowledge and then some of the knowledge that I have of my son. Now he's 16. So at this point, he's not needing a lot of technology, but I've also worked with a lot of ALS clients in the ALS chapters, and I have some contacts with them in trying to figure out technology. So I haven't quite figured out how I want to approach these things, but if you want to look me up or if you want my email and want to ask me questions directly, I'd be happy to help out.
Great. Great. We did have a question from Blake about some more information and tips about cooking from our resident chef. About how you do cooking.
We don't really have a lot of technology to help with cooking.
Yeah.
Our stove is set up for us, so like we can go under it. We use just the regular spatulas and stuff. Our PCs are here to help us if we need help lifting anything heavy. But like we'll sit by the stove and flip the chicken or whatever we make, the steak, whatever we're making. And then our department's set up so like we have a light next to the oven. There's a switch to turn it on, so it's lower, so we can reach the switch to turn the light on. So everything's made like at reach for us.
That's awesome. So is it a button, or you said like a light switch almost?
Switch, yeah.
Light switch design. Okay.
It's a gas-powered stove, which is easier to turn on and.
Yeah. That was the next question. So it's gas powered. Awesome.
And those are all things that you found within the apartment before you guys moved in. Those weren't modifications you guys made?
They were already here, but like when you're looking for an apartment for like someone with Duchenne's or any disability, you want to look for a place that's more modernized and more like newer, because most of the things in it will be modernized inside of it.
Oh, I bet, for sure.
That makes sense.
In Boston. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, Tori, Andrew, John, have you guys found any utensils helpful, plates that are like lightweight, or any pots and pans that you find that are easier to lift, things like that?
Most of our things we use are plastic, so like we have plastic plates, and we do have metal forks, but they're smaller and a little lighter for us to use.
Cool.
Yeah, I know I get these plastic spoons there are the like long handle ones, and they're called like Sunday spoons or something like that. Having that longer handle makes it just easier for me to reach stuff, both like my plate and my mouth. And the fact it's plastic, it's lighter, easier. You have to have a little bit slightly smaller like head of the spoon than like your typical spoon. I have kind of a smaller mouth opening anyway, so they work pretty well for me. I also use these straws that I found on Amazon that are like extra long and extra bendable, because I usually have like 2 or 3 drinks here. So having that extra length and flexibility in the straw to make it so I can like reach more drinks at once.
Makes sense. And then Chris was saying buying a separate hot plate. Chris, do you use one now? A hot plate?
I don't do the cooking because I can't really well, but it's easy to get a little electric burner.
Okay.
So it's like one single stove top. And then a lot of kitchens, they don't have clearance under the counter because it's the oven and the burner is attached. But usually if you have a workspace that you can get to, there's electric outlets nearby, you could put a little electric hot plate there and do a majority of your cooking that way. And I have burners mainly for sticking in the center of a table for hot pot.
Got it. Got it.
That'll do it. As for just kind of maybe even some advice, general advice that you guys may have about living independently, maybe something that you wish you were told before you moved out. Chris Napper?
I guess be very thorough in your like search for caregivers. And I realize that a lot of times you're kind of desperate to find anybody. So taking like the first available person might like be what you want to do, but if you have time to like interview multiple people, ask lots of questions, because once you hire somebody, you want to be sure that like you enjoy being around them and that they also provide you good care, because you're going to spend a lot of time with that person and you're reliant on that person. It's difficult, but it's definitely worth doing a lot of work on that end.
I would say the same thing with finding care PCAs. That's tough. You want to find the right people, because we've had a couple of people that just quit on us or walk out. So yeah, you have to find the right people.
Yeah.
What are some questions you guys ask your PCAs when you are interviewing to kind of help, figure out which one might be the best fit for you guys?
Or some of the questions we ask, if like a lot of questions we ask if they know about Duchenne's and what we need help with. We make sure they know how to use the cough assist and all the technology that we need help with in the morning. So yeah, that's some of the questions we ask. And like my dad likes us to hire people that have kids or take care of someone and they know what they're doing.
Have you, just to follow up on that, if they don't have exposure to Duchenne or they haven't worked in this space before, how do you kind of teach them if they're good? Like if you're like, I really like this person, but they just don't have that experience. What are some of the things that you would want to walk them through? You mentioned your cough assist, but anything else?
Ways they lift us so they don't hurt us, stuff like that. And we just really direct them towards like look up what our disability is. Just do some research on it before they start working with us.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of I get that method of thinking, and there's definitely truth to it. Part of me kind of disagrees with some of that though. I actually a while back I was looking to hire a new caregiver, and I had one applicant that had lots of experience working in like care facilities, and then I had another person that really had no experience, but they were very nice and friendly and all that. I ended up hiring the person with more experience, but looking back, I kind of regret it. It seemed to me like they kind of had no idea how things go, like especially working in a facility. Everything was just kind of ram bam, get things done as quick as you can. Whereas I'm not in that big of a hurry to get things done. I just want to get things done right. You know what I mean? So I think that the other person probably would have been a better hire because they didn't kind of already have these certain habits and instincts built in. Whereas that person actually just taught from the get-go, like this is how we do things. So, you know, experience can be good and it can be bad. Kind of depends on where that experience is and how willing that person is to relearn things your way as opposed to their way. But yeah.
Yeah, I think, would you guys say sometimes it depends on what you're looking for? Like if it may be different depending on what your schedule is like or what your work schedule is like. Like you have a little bit, I don't want to speak for you, Chris, but is your work schedule a little bit more flexible? So you're not like, I have to be somewhere at X time. So I'd rather like work with someone who isn't just going through the motions, but other, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I work from home. I'm my own boss, so I work whatever hours I feel like working.
Right.
So I'm not in any rush to be anywhere or do anything. On most days, at least, you know. Obviously, things come up where I'll be somewhere or do something.
Right.
But yeah, like coming from the facility, you have, you know, a small staff of people that they have to help, you know, a whole floor of people or whatever. So everything's got to be, you know, quick, fast. The guys we got to help, you know, dozen other people. If it's just me, you know, I want to make sure I'm positioned right, my clothes are right, you know, everything is done well. My food is cooked, you know, however I want it. Yeah, it's more about like quality over speed here. But that's not necessarily the priority in the facility where you have to make sure dozens of people are cared for.
That makes sense. Little bit different, but what about when you leave your apartment? So what about like grocery shopping or doctor's appointments or other things? Like how do you manage that piece of it?
We do all our shopping online.
Awesome.
We go to Walmart and on their website and just put everything in the cart. We pay for it and then the PC schedule a time and the PCAs just pick it up on their way back, on their way to work. Or my dad helps us with it. Depends. And the doctor's appointments, usually it's my dad that brings us, so.
Takes you, yeah.
Brings us to the doctor's appointments.
Yeah, I also do most of my shopping online now. Sometimes me and my roommate will run out to the store. I have my accessible van that we use for this and that errands. And then my parents aren't too far away. I have a more involved appointment that I want my dad just kind of help me out. But yeah, it just kind of depends.
Okay. We had a question from Charlie about what you guys do for a living.
You can go first.
Sorry, you know what?
No, it's fine.
I'm a graphic designer, illustrator. I run my own clothing business. Yeah.
So me and Andrew do graphic design too. So
that's awesome. Very cool.
And then Mark, Mark.
I'm a student currently, so.
Oh, Mark. So what, are you a senior or?
Yes, I'm going my senior year now.
That's awesome. What are you studying? What are you studying? Sorry, I don't know.
Computer science, yeah.
Computer science, sorry.
Volume's kicking out.
I think it was my volume. My computer's on the fritz. I'll need some Geek Squad to come and help me. Actually, DJ asked about Geek Squad. Could Best Buy's Geek Squad be a good informational tool for home automation or devices? Has anybody ever used them for that?
No.
No.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be my top recommendation. Some of them may have some knowledge, like
Right.
they're not dumb, but that's not their area of expertise.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess the question I would have, now this was a big thing from Alaska, and one of the people one of the last on my list of technology, the housemate, the person that created that, his big thing was, okay, this is great, all these smart homes. What if the internet doesn't work? What if goes out and you're dependent on this technology? What are you going to do? Or if you live in rural areas where maybe the internet isn't great. So do you guys have any technologies that you like that don't rely on internet?
We have like if we drop something on the floor, we have like a reacher that we grab stuff off the floor if the PCs aren't around and no one's around. Because most of the time we are here, just us three alone for a couple hours a day. So we have our little claw that we grab stuff off the floor.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah, other than just like yelling and hoping my roommate hears me, I have like multiple technologies. So like if Alexa isn't listening to me or functioning properly, I can use Siri. For the backups, but like if the whole internet's down, yeah, I'm just kind of yelling.
Yeah, I guess that's what the housemate guy was looking at. Like his technology, he's using a lot of. It's kind of like a hub. So like you could connect your joystick of your wheelchair to it, and then it's got like infrared abilities, and then it could connect to like, the TV, anything that's infrared, like kind of remote control access. So that was like one of his ideas, which I thought, well, that can kind of be a good, nice thing, especially I know my internet's pretty reliable, but I think it's nice to.
I have had a couple times at night where like I have either my roommate or my phones or either dead or whatever. So usually if I need to turn at night, I'll tell him on the phone, and then he'll come help me. But if one of the phones dies or I don't know, left on silent or something, I'll just turn on my TV with my Alexa and just turn the volume up really loud. He hears the TV blasting and knows, oh crap, whoops.
That's a good idea, yeah.
It's worked in a pinch.
Yeah, because sometimes I've thought like we use the Alexa to drop in between rooms, but some days I'm feeling like, well, maybe I need to also have like just the basic old school monitor, that just plugs into the wall. Of course, it requires electricity, but it's not working on the internet. So
yeah, I know, Schlecky, you have like a generator thing you use too, right? Yeah.
Explain again.
No,
yeah.
That's like the extreme measure if you want to go like whole house backup generator.
Yeah.
But usually when my internet's down, it's because the power is also out.
Yeah.
And in that case, there's nothing I'm really going to be doing anyways, except contemplating when it's going to come back on and whether I should go into work for their power.
Yeah.
Chris Schlechte, did you have a question for Mark? For Mark, he's on the Chapetta. Chapetta, congrats on almost being done. Plans post-graduation. Do you have plans post-graduation, Mark?
No, I have no idea.
No.
Okay,
Now's the time to start applying, man.
Try to hook you up with Microsoft. You've got connect.
That's true. He does work at Microsoft. Other questions that you guys have had? Danielle, I see you.
I have two actually. So going back to just talking about what happens if the power runs out, I definitely think it's a little far stretched, but I did watch a series on solar panels like being a new thing and kind of generating that power when power is lost. Obviously, I know that's again far stretched, but just a very cool idea, you know, to think about. And then my question to you guys: what are some like tips or tricks that you guys have when using the computer? You know, using the mouse, picking, you know, getting onto the keyboard and things like that. Are there any, you know, cool tips that you have for the audience?
I my laptop.
What'd you say, Troy?
Yeah,
I have my laptop. I just use my laptop. It's easier on the lap, play on it or do my work on it.
yeah, I just use a very basic mouse, and I use an on-screen keyboard that's built into my OS. And yeah, nothing too crazy. I know they have a lot of like voice recognition stuff that
Yeah.
are useful for some people. I've tried some of that stuff before, but I usually don't really know what I'm saying ahead of time, so I just let's say it, not type it. I kind of figure out my wording and phrasing like as I'm typing. So I wasn't a fan of voice typing, but that's just me.
Yeah, we had another panel, was it last week? And he was saying he uses that Dragon technology that he really likes,
Yeah.
but I think he was getting his PhD. So I think it was a lot of a heavy volume of papers and things like that. So that maybe that was why.
Yeah, if you're writing that much, doing that with the on-screen keyboard would take a long time. So voice for that would be good.
DJ was just saying in the chat, I'd suggest eye gaze if you're having strength issues. It has improved my quality of life very much. That's really cool, DJ. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and I would go back to the Dragon, the dictation and things like that.
Yes, thank you.
Now, the one thing I found of working with clients, like I've worked with Voc Rehab and doing assistive technology assessments. And a lot of times I've had clients where they never, like they didn't really use it in high school, for example, the Dragon dictation. And then, you know, the idea was maybe to use it in college, but I agree with Chris on the dictation. Sometimes, depending on how you think about writing, it can be really challenging, especially if as you're typing, you're thinking about what's going to be said next rather than like pre-planning your whole conversation. So I have found, even if you're not needing to use the dictation, if the earlier you can start with it, the easier it is if you decide you're going to use it later on. Just because it's kind of a different skill set and it's a different way of writing. So one of the ways I really like to do it, because sometimes I try to get to help clients, I need to understand what's going on and how it feels to do it. So a lot of times I've suggested even just get used to dictating, you know, text messages on your phone or little things like that, because then that's just short bits of information that you're trying to get out there. And then if you want to try to use it for something, a bigger paper or something, it might be a little bit easier at that time.
Other questions?
What's your favorite thing to do when it's not COVID? Getting out of the house and stuff. What do you guys like to do?
Really nothing right now. We have to take care of our puppy, so we can't work in the house.
As soon as COVID is gone and the weather is nice, I'm going paragliding again.
Good for you.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely want to do that again. And I like going to sports, like baseball games, football games, whatever.
Have any of you guys used, actually, I have another question, sorry, the Uber app? app to get around, or the Lyft app to, use transportation as a service? Have you guys had any experience with that?
I use paratransit if I'm at home. When I'm traveling, I've used like taxi services. The Uber specifically, they have like accessible features, but they're very limited in practical use. Like you can request an accessible vehicle, but there may not be any in your area.
Often Uber apps fall back to the like accessible taxi companies if they are. In areas where they don't have accessible taxis, it basically brings you to a page saying, sorry, please call paratransit.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But I don't say good luck with taxis.
Good luck with taxis.
As long as you're in like a relatively modern big city, like if I'm in Vegas or Miami, I could work with taxis.
How big is Bella gonna get, guys? I need a weight amount.
Right now she's 21 pounds. She'll probably get up to 35.
Oh, okay.
Mini.
So not huge. Okay.
How big is Sniffy gonna get?
Like 160 pounds, I think. That's the going
nice.
amount. I know.
I was gonna say he's gotta be like 35 right now.
Yes, 35.
Nice.
You're gonna need full-size waist bags for your walks.
Hopefully Microsoft will make those and send them.
My parents have a half Saint Bernard, half Great Pyrenees.
I know, that's
she's super chill on walks. Like
really?
She doesn't really pull at all. She's pretty mellow.
That's a big dog though, right?
She's big.
Yeah.
A lot of dogs.
Big.
That's a lot of hair. That's a lot of dog.
She's just a big sweetheart there. She always wants to be pet. Yeah.
Have you thought about getting a dog at your place now?
I've been on a wait list with a service dog organization for 6 years now.
Oh my gosh.
And I've been rather tired of waiting. So I just started applying to a second organization. So they seem to have faster turnaround times, which I'm told they expect about a 2-year wait.
Oh my gosh.
So I need to finish the application, but yeah.
That's crazy.
And my roommate has a little dog, a little Min Pin.
Oh wow.
But, yeah.
Oh, so cute.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, I want my service dog.
Very cool. DJ says he's a cat person, but he's maybe looking for a dog. Does Bella make trips to West Virginia? Maybe after COVID.
Yeah.
You get a Maine Coon cat. They're basically a dog.
I'd love to see a service cat. I feel like that would be a fun.
No way, because you have to serve the cat.
Exactly.
That doesn't serve you.
Well, I'll leave it just in case anybody has some last questions. We're coming up on the hour mark. Anybody else? If you do have questions, if you think of something after, you can always contact us at Jet Foundation. We'll get you in touch with Mariana or the guys, and we're happy to help out with other questions that come up. Actually, looks like Charlie said, Chris, I have Duchenne and I'm also studying graphic design and was wondering if you'd be willing to exchange contact info.
Yeah, man, feel free to add me on Facebook, or you can email me, chris.yapper@gmail. Whatever you want to do, man, hit me up. Actually, I wanted to ask Mariana if it's okay.
Oh, yeah, please.
I'm in the process of applying, I guess, for a JACO arm, the robotic arms. I know you're familiar with those. Have you had much success with getting those approved from insurance?
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to get my hands on one, so I haven't actually touched one. There was an OT. I think she's out of University of Rochester. I can't think of her name, but if you look on clinicaltrials.gov, she did a clinical trial on the two JACO and the other arm. I can't think of the name of it.
I didn't know there was another one.
She may have, and she did a clinical trial with individuals with Duchenne to see, how that worked for people. And so she might have some ideas or have some input I'll see if I can find the information, and then I'll get it over to the Jet Foundation, and they can get it to you, or I'll get your email off of here.
Yeah.
Sure.
Megan was kind enough to share your email with everybody in the chat.
Yeah.
So spam them, guys. Don't be shy. Spam them.
Oh yeah, I see it right here. Okay. See, I told you I can't read and talk.
No, that's okay. I can't either.
Here, I'm going to type that. I'll put that on my phone. But yeah, Chris, I'll see if I can find her name, or at least that would, she might have some ideas. The other idea might be in Washington, whoever, I'm just wondering within the OT community who might be doing those kind of assessments, because that would probably be part of the coverage.
I did a demo with the Canova, the robotics company that makes the JACO. They came out to my home like a week or two ago, and we did a demo, and they took a little video footage, and they're like taking that back to their therapist. I don't know if it's a OT or PT or whatever they have, but so they showed them the like footage just to kind of more or less show that I can do it. And they submit some sort of a letter to my insurance to justify it in whatever way. But I'm told that with my insurance, they have like a 60% approval rate. So I'm just kind of trying to pad those odds in any way I can.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes it's that, I hate this process. Sometimes it's like you have to they deny you, and then you resubmit, and then they deny you, and you still resubmit. But it's
I'm fully anticipating having to at least submit at least one appeal. So we'll see what happens.
I hope that, I don't know if her data on that clinical trial she did has finished, or, if she's published the trial yet, because I had seen it. I think she accepted her last patient a year and a half ago. So I'm just curious if maybe she's, because that should be able to help a little bit with her clinical trial. If she shows the benefits, then that's something more to give to the insurance company.
Yeah, that would be great. Appreciate it.
What's the other robot you were thinking of? The OB feeding robot? It has like 4 little cups in an arm.
Mariana, did you hear Chris's question?
Yeah, one more time. Sorry, what was it again?
Was the other robot you were thinking of the OBI robot? It's basically 3 little balls and then an arm for assisting with feeding.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that one, because it was definitely another arm, like the JACO one. I know that's another technology. I wonder if anybody's tried that one.
The Canova one, is that the one you might be thinking of, or is that JACO together?
Canova
is the parent company that makes them both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't realize there was a competitor to JACO. I was not aware of that.
I know that. Yeah, that part I haven't been involved enough in. Another side to add to things, right?
Yeah. 2021, we can on that.
Yeah, 20 when I can actually go somewhere.
All meet up.
Yeah, so I'll meet up for sure.
Well, guys, it's the end. I don't want to cut us off, but I know everyone's got things to do the rest of the day. But thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate it. If you do have questions, like I said, you're happy to email us, or you can all email Chris Napper and he will get questions, and you can always get it over to the Chapettas and Mark. But we really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you again, and happy holidays to everybody. Don't see you.
You guys too.
You too.
Were you going to say something, Troy? Sorry.
No, I said you too. Have a good
Oh, okay. I thought I was cutting you off. Okay. All right, guys. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.